We're going to start solving quadratic equations by completing the square. And what we're pretty much doing is, when given a polynomial like this, is we're trying to find what values might solve this equation. So the first step is to get everything that does not have the variable x in it as a term. We need to get that to the right side of the equal sign. These two both have x within these terms, so this term here needs to be moved over. So we would just add 16 to each side, and then rewrite the equation right below it. X squared equals 6, or plus 6x equals positive 16 over here. Now that we've done that, if you have any coefficients other than 1 at the beginning of your first term, and that term is the one raised to the second power, then you need to divide by that coefficient. In this case it's just 1, because we can assume that there's a factor of 1 outside multiplied by this variable, and so we don't need to divide any of the terms by a number at this point. So we move on to the third step, which is completing the perfect square trinomial, or completing the perfect square for this this binomial here. We need to add another value to this to make it a perfect square trinomial. And there is an algorithm to do that, and it's always the same. What you do, we're going to say this is the first term, this is the second term, and then we're the third term here we will add on. So what you do is you have brackets, you put 1/2 and then put parentheses there. We're going to put something in here to multiply to see what that third term of this trinomial is. That's what we're going to add on. Then you square everything. You always use this, and what is filled in this spot here is this coefficient of the x raised to the power of 1. If it's a negative sign, then you put a -6. If it's positive, it's a positive 6. So in this case it's a positive 6. This comes out to 3 raised to the power of 2. Now we'll apply this 2 as an exponent, and it becomes 9. So we will add positive 9. Now we figured that out. We've completed the square. We need to add 9 to both sides. Rewrite it. Okay. Now we have to factor this into binomial squares, equal binomial factors, or binomial squared. We already know how to do this from the previous page. Remember, you first write out the 2 parentheses. You take this one. It's going to be 2 x's in front, and as you know, because both of these signs are positive, we're going to put 2 positive signs here within these binomial factors. And the last one is easy. What's the perfect square of 9? I already know it's 3. We could simplify this further by just saying x plus 3 raised to the second power, because there's 2 equal factors. That means that these factors can pretty much be said that they are squared. And remember, on the right side of that equals, we had the 25. We're going to write that on there now. So what you do is you want to get rid of this 2 up here. And the way you get rid of this exponent, the squaring, is to take a square root. It pretty much reverses it. So it becomes simply what's within these parentheses. X plus 3 equals, and this is very important now, you must put plus or minus. Because if you have 2, well, let's just figure this one out first. We know it's going to be 5, because 5 times 5 equals 25. But also negative 5 times negative 5, those are 2 equal factors. Those also equal positive 25. So you must put a plus or minus symbol, because it could be either. Now we solve for x. Let's first solve for x when the 5 is a positive number. So x plus 3 equals positive 5. So we subtract 3 from both, and x equals 2. Now let's try it when 5 is a negative number. That's where the plus or minus comes into effect, remember. So x plus 3 equals negative 5. Let's subtract 3 from each side. So 8 equals negative, or x equals negative 8. These are the 2 solutions that should solve the first equation above, the first quadratic equation we have above, which is right here. So I'm going to rewrite this down where our solutions are, and we're going to check our answers by plugging both of them in to these x's. We'll be substituting them in to see if in fact this equation holds true. So x squared plus 6x minus 16 equals 0. Let's first plug in the 2. So 2 raised to the power of 2 plus 6 times 2 minus 16 equals 0. 2 times 2 is 4 plus, this is 12, 6 times 2, 12 minus 16 equals 0. This here, 4 plus 12 is 16, we know that. Subtract 16 from 16 and you get 0 equals 0. So that checks out. That holds true. So that is a possible solution. X equals 2. That's one solution. Let's try the other one. So plug in negative 8. Remember, it has to be within the parentheses the negative sign does, because when we apply the exponent to it, it's going to change it. It's going to be negative 8 times negative 8, which is a positive number. Let's finish. Before we do that, let's go ahead and finish writing out the rest of the problem. Okay. So this, as we know, is a positive number, and 8, okay, so negative 8 times negative 8 is positive 64, plus 6 times negative 8. There's one negative factor in here. If you have an odd number of negative factors, or odd number of negative signs among factors, you know it's going to be a negative number as a result. The product will be negative. So 6 times negative 8 is negative 48. And then here we have negative 16 equals 0. So let's add some terms together. We have 64 and then negative 48 plus negative 16 is negative 64. Equals 0. That in fact does equal 0 when you subtract 64 from 64. So this also checks out. So now we've gone ahead and we solved the quadratic equation and we've checked each of the solutions.